Welcome to another episode of the Midwest Coast Travelers. I'm Steve, this is my wife.
Hi, I'm Cindy.
And today we're going to talk about our camping adventure that we did a couple of weeks ago down at Berry Bend Campground on Truman Lake.
So Truman Lake is a Corp of Engineers lake, and which makes it really fantastic for seniors like us because we have the America the Beautiful Lifetime Senior Pass. And not only does it get you into national parks and things like that, but also half-price camping at Corp of Engineers places, which is fantastic for us.
And if you camp a lot, that adds up real quick. So if you don't have one, it might be something you to think about.
They're $80, but that's a lifetime pass.
Yep, well worth the
seniors.
money for seniors.
Yeah.
Well worth that.
So back to Berry Bend, or Truman Lake anyway, there's a lot of different campgrounds around Truman Lake. Some of them are Corps of Engineers, some of them are state parks, there's private campgrounds, but all of them have just beautiful, beautiful areas. And Truman Lake is a beautiful lake for fishing, kayaking, just any kind of boating and water kinds of activities.
Yep, and Berry Bend Campground is located about 11 miles west of Warsaw, down off of Highway 7 and Highway Z. There's about 100 campsites in the two loops that there is right now at Berry Bend.
And we stayed in the B loop, thank goodness. It only has 7 sites, but it's the only ones that have full hookups. So we had 50 amp service, which was really good since it was almost 100 degrees. We were able to run our air conditioner when we weren't floating around in the water or riding our bicycles.
So if you want or need the 50 amp service, you better make your reservations early because there is only a limited number of sites. The other loop has about 93 campsites. There is only 30 amp service at those, but it's still a beautiful tree-shaded campground, blacktop roads throughout. The sites, there's a few paved handicap sites. The rest are a hard chat, but they're all pretty level and for a pop-up or a big RV even.
So there's water hookups. In the campground, there's flushing toilets as well as pit toilets. There's shower houses, a beautiful playground for the kids, and lots of paved surfaces for kids riding their bikes, and you can feel safe about them doing that, or adults riding their bikes like we do.
And beautiful pavilions to have your picnic if you're having a family gathering up there. They have a boat ramp, very easy to access boat ramp there, playground for kids, hiking trails, everything.
And they do have a dump station too, which is very important. It's a very wooded area, so most of the sites are very shady, which makes it great in the summertime.
Yeah, one thing we're going to be showing you in this video, there used to be hundreds more primitive campsites mostly available, but several years ago the funding for the Corps of Engineers was declining, so they had to close off part of this area. One was an equestrian campsite and the other was another primitive camping area, which was right on the water where we used to camp 20 and 30 years ago. Just pull the boat right up on the bank, you're right in your site. But they've had to close those down. But we will take a tour to kind of show you what's there right now, because it ended up leaving a lot of good hiking and biking trails for people.
All blacktop, but the weeds are growing up in there pretty bad, but it was still great for bike riding. I bet we rode our electric bikes, they're Elux bikes. I bet we rode them 25, 30 miles within a couple of days.
Yep, so stay tuned. We're going to show you some highlights of the campground down there, and then hope to see it on the water sometime or on the road and enjoying the ride.
So we're off to Truman Lake, which is a Corps of Engineers lake. And we can see that we won't see any wildlife while we're there, but there is a lot of wildlife in the area.
And this is our campsite. As again, there's only like 7 full hookups with 50 amps, so get there early and make reservations. It's a hot day, so we're taking a ride down to the swim beach and cool off for the afternoon.
We spend a lot of our time just floating around in the lake.
This is the other loop of the campsites. It has the 30 amp sites, and there's 93 sites in this loop, I think. Now down towards the beach, and you can see it is part of the area that got in the federal funding cut. They do not maintain it any longer, but you can still walk or ride your bikes down to the beach and enjoy the day there.
And even though it's been closed, the beach is still pretty nice. The water's kind of silty there, but we were able to get out in it and do a lot of floating. These are our traveling buddies, David and Lori. We've been on many, many adventures together, and I'm sure we'll do many more. They also have the Elux Tahoe electric bikes. All right, we're heading back to the campground.
I guess he needed to feel safe, so he put his airbags on.
Bumpers.
Are those the rubber baby buggy bumpers?
Hang on, we're going through the campground.
Back to the campsite. Here we are at Berry Bend Campground. It's a Corp of Engineers site. We have been staying here for the last couple of days, and it is a beautiful campground to go to. And we used to come here 20, 30 years ago, but now hundreds and hundreds of campsites are not for use any longer. I don't know why, but they are rough, they are not kept up, and we're just gonna take a quick look. So take a look.
So this is part of the area we were talking about, that it's now closed for camping, even though they were beautiful sites, and it's still blacktop, and there's a lot of weeds growing through, but it was still fantastic for our biking and hiking adventures.
After we got back, we checked into it a little bit more and found out that it was the federal funding cuts that caused them to close this down. But in the meantime, there's talk of some private company coming in and rehabbing the swim beach and the equestrian campground. So we hope that happens someday.
Because it is a fantastic area.
And this is back to our loop of the campground that we stayed in that has the 50 amp and full hookups.
And close by is the visitor center at Casinger Bluff. What you're seeing now is the causeway that goes on out to the Berry Bend Campground.
And the boat ramp is just to the right side right there. Almost time for a sunset. But the day is winding up. We're gonna head back to the camp.
So even though it was in the mid-90s, we had just a quick little short trip to Berry Bend Campground at Truman Lake.
Here we are at what used to be the equestrian campground at Berry Bend State Park and Corp of Engineers. Trouble is that are waiting to be used are now not there. So I don't know why they need